Hey guys, Pastor Jacob here. Hope you're having a great week. As we continue our Good Place series, looking at heaven, hell, and the afterlife, I've had a handful of people come up to me and say, hey, what resources do you recommend if we want to dig deeper? Or, what books or videos and things are you using, Jacob, to better understand heaven, hell, and the afterlife? And nerd that I am, I have a ton of recommended resources that I would love to share with you. The first is, of course, one of our favorite resources in general here to Rise, the Bible Project. The Bible Project has, they produce videos and digital content that really breaks down and helps people understand all sorts of biblical ideas and concepts in really helpful, easy to understand ways. And so the Bible Project has some videos, they have some podcasts, they have some written resources that I would really highly recommend that you check out. If you're looking for something that's not a book, that's the place I'm going to point you. Lots of people have podcasts and breakdowns of heaven, hell, and the afterlife. I'm going to be honest, I have not found anything that I really would be willing to put my stamp of approval on other than the Bible Project, so check them out. As for books, I have lots of suggestions for you, and one of my top suggestions is this book called Hope in the Times of Fear by Pastor Tim Keller. This is really about resurrection and Easter, but especially for people who came up to me Sunday and said, hey, Jacob, it's hard for me to think about death. Death is scary. Death is uncomfortable. Thinking about heaven, hell, and the afterlife for the next couple weeks, it's going to be kind of weird. I don't really love that. This is a great book to really break down what Christians can and should think about death and, very importantly, resurrection. Another book that I recommend is Surprised by Hope by N.T. Wright. He talks about heaven, the resurrection, and the mission of the church. So again, not specifically like heaven, hell book, but really a great kind of overview of the theology and the ways of thinking and reading scripture that should be informing how we think of heaven and hell. I've got a couple other ones here. Imagine the God of Heaven. This is a guy who goes through near-death experiences and kind of draws out what we can know about who God is from those. Similarly, we have the same guy, John Burke. So we have Imagine Heaven and Imagine the God of Heaven. And these are both really very interesting books. Kind of falls into the realm of, for me, things that I would not base my faith on, but in terms of exterior evidence for the existence of God. Imagine Heaven and Imagine the God of Heaven can be really helpful resources for that. And then, of course, I have a ton of books on various views of heaven and hell. There's, of course, the Zondervan series. This is 4 Views on Hell. There's a 4 Views on Heaven book that's very similar to this. These are some of my favorite books just in general, especially for those of us at Arise who inhabit mere Christianity. These books, not very big, but they really do a good job of introducing kind of the major Christian perspectives on difficult issues, on difficult questions. And so this is a really great book, and I really recommend this to anyone who wants to better understand, especially the things we're going to be talking about the next couple of weeks as we dig into hell. There's another book. This is What to Think About Hell by Steve Gregg. This is 2 Views of Hell. Same sorts of books here, right? Just kind of different people providing different perspectives. Steve Gregg does a really good job of providing kind of big overview pictures of things, and so I really recommend him. Slightly more controversial, I would encourage you to read something like Love Wins. Love Wins was written by Pastor Rob Bell, really created a firestorm several years back when it was published, and honestly does a pretty good job of articulating the historic Christian position on what we would call Christian universalism. That is, that people don't stay in hell. This is a really accessible book. You don't have to agree with everything in it, but if you want to understand that perspective, this is a great intro to it. You might also consider reading a counter argument to this, such as God Wins by Mark Galli. So this is written specifically in reaction to Love Wins. Again, a couple things that could be interesting as well. I got 2 more that I'm going to suggest for you. I've got several more in general, but That All Shall Be Saved by David Bentley Hart. This is a very nerdy version of Love Wins. This is kind of the historical the historical outlay of why Christians should consider Christian universalism. And then Erasing Hell. That's kind of my final recommendation I'm going to hold up for you, at least. Erasing Hell by Preston Sprinkle and Francis Chan does a really good job of talking about the debate that people have about heaven, hell, and the afterlife. Now, again, I just threw a ton of books at you. I don't expect anyone to read those books. I don't expect anyone to find all those books as interesting as I do. But if you're asking me a question, hey, Jacob, what are you reading? What do you recommend? And those are some of the resources that I think have been really helpful. If you want to do a deeper dive or a slightly more different take on this, books like Dante's Inferno or John Milton's Paradise Lost have been really influential in how we think about heaven, hell, and the afterlife. And so you might consider reading those. I'm also a big C.S. Lewis guy, and so C.S. Lewis talks about heaven and kind of his version of purgatory in The Great Divorce. So again, food for thought. Lots of recommendations I can throw at you. Again, one of our major goals here at Rise is to be a community of growth, right? We don't want to stay here in our faith. We want to be learning and growing and continually coming to understand God and our world and ourselves better. And so, again, that's really the point of this message series we're in on The Good Place. And that's why I do my best to read all these books for you so that we can really understand what's going on. So check some of those out. And, of course, as always, if you have more questions or you want to talk more, let me know. I would love to chat.